Let's take a look at rhythm patterns now. Now with rhythm patterns, you're also going to want to use simple syllables, such as ba or bom. And in rhythm patterns, ba is more common, whereas in tonal, bum has a nice resonance to it, so you can hear the pitch. So you bum, bum, bum. Whereas with rhythm, you just want to use ba, so ba, 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 ba. Now, it's not a hard and fast rule. You can certainly mix that up, but it's just a tendency. And also, you can use fun sounds like animal sounds, like a chicken is good, like a bok, 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 bok. Notice how percussive that is. Moo would not be as good for rhythm patterns because it has more of a length to it. Moo, 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 moo. It certainly works, but moo lends itself nicer to moo, 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 holding it out for tonal patterns. Once again, not a hard and fast rule, but the more percussive animal sounds are going to work better for your rhythm patterns. And also fun sounds like beep beep. We have plenty of songs that use beep beep intended to be rhythm patterns, such as the Beep Bus or Beep Beep itself, which is our version of the Blue Danube Waltz. So you can have some fun with the sounds, but you want to keep those sounds very simple. Now let's take a look at some specific examples of patterns. Here are 8 examples of duple meter rhythm patterns. Duple meter is basically any meter where it's broken, where the measure is broken down into twos, which is most children's music and most music in general. 4/4 is the most common time signature in all of Western music, especially children's music, and that is an example of duple meter. So here's 8 independent examples. Each measure is a unique pattern. For this tutorial video, how about you repeat after me at home? So here we go. Here's the first one. It's now usually what you do is you keep a beat, have the class keep a beat on their laps. You can either do the quarter note or the half note, whatever you feel is appropriate. Let's say we're in this time signature. We'll go like this. So you can either go bum, ba, 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 or you could do half time. Ba, 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 ba. And that's your choice, whatever feels natural to you. So for right now, I'll do the quarter note pulse. Okay, so repeat after me at home. Ba, 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 ba. Second one is ba, 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 ba. 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 Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. And those are all of the 8 patterns written here in these staff examples. So now once again, you're most likely going to improvise your own patterns. You want to keep it fairly simple to quarter notes, maybe some eighth notes. You definitely do not want to do 16th notes with these young children. I mean, you certainly can. It's not going to break anything. It's not going to be as easy for them to duplicate, so it's less educationally beneficial. So on your own, why don't you try practicing some of your own rhythm patterns? And as you're learning your songs for each session, there are certain songs in the syllabus that have rhythm patterns prescribed after them, and certain ones that have tonal patterns prescribed after them. And it's good to practice before you do your class, leading the song and going straight into those patterns. So those are some examples of duple meter rhythm patterns. Let's take a look at some triple meter rhythm patterns. Now, triple meter, it can get subjective as to whether something can be called 3/4 or 6/8, depending on what you call the tempo. But let's take a look here at our 3/4 examples. We have 4 examples here, and each one takes up 2 measures on our line here. So once again, repeat after me. Let's say, let's do this rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now once again, if you notice, you have the class pat their laps. Usually I have them just do the downbeat, which is the 1 every measure. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's usually too fast to try to have them do all 3 beats, such as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. It just gets it's a little bit fast for them, and it's especially fast for the kids. So it's good to really just emphasize the macro beat, not the micro beat. So repeat after me. Bam, 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 bam. Bam, 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 bam. Bam, 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 bam. Bam, 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 bam. So those are 4 examples, and you have a little bit less variety that you can do with triple meter patterns. Now, one thing I didn't do in there, I didn't do any eighth notes at all. I kept them all to quarter notes and half notes, and that's a good thing to do for the young kids. If it's getting later in your session, or if you have some older kids, you could throw some 16th notes in there, and I'll just give you an example. Like if we take that first one and I throw a 16th note in there, we have bam, 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 bam. Bam 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 bam. So I took those 4 patterns and just took one of the beats and added an eighth note in between there. You're welcome to do that as well. So once again, you want to get these things in your head so you can just improvise them, but you need to practice and make sure you can lead them confidently in the class. Now the next staff line that I have here is a 6/8 example, and it's exactly the same as the 3/4 if you were doing twice the tempo. So now what I did with that 3/4, I was imagining it being 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1. But if I decided to count it differently, I could call it 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. You see, it feels exactly the same. I'm just assigning different numbers to it. So instead of going 1 2 3 1 2 3, I'm going 1 2 3 4 5 6. It's really 6 and 1/2 dozen the other. There are certain cases in where something is pretty more obviously 3/4 over 6/8, or pretty obviously 6/8 over 3/4. But for the purposes of teaching the Learning Groove music classes, we really don't need to go into that type of detail, especially since we're not telling anybody, well, we're not really showing these kids the notation or anything, so it's not going to matter. This is all based on learning by ear. So you as a teacher need to be able to absorb these things by ear and not get too bogged down in the notation or the terminology, and you need your class to be able to just distinguish it by ear as well. So, but just to read the bottom examples, I'll go through that as well. So let's see, instead of 1 2 3 1 2 3, we're going 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. Repeat after me. Bam 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 bam. Bam. Wait. Bam 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 bam. Bam 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 bam. Bam 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 bam. Bam 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 bam. Bam bam bam. So you see, it's exactly the same as the ones above. It's just notated in 6/8. So now we're going to move on and look at a section that's called Discerning Straight Feel from Swing Feel. I'm sure you've heard that phrase, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Or if you remember the old Saturday Night Live skit, there was a give me a C, a bouncy C. I can't even remember what the character was called, but that phrase has always stuck with me. A swing feel has kind of a bounce to it. If you're a non-musician, that's the easiest way to describe it. Real simply, now Wheels on the Bus is an interesting example because most of the times I've ever heard it in my life, it's always had a swing to it or a triplet feel. At the Learning Groove, we made it a straight feel because we decided to make it a ska version of that song. So just to quickly demonstrate the difference, most people go, let's find our key of D. Wheels on the bus. Okay, let's go. The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round, all through the town. Now that had some swing to it. Now I'll do it straight. The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round, all through the town. That's very, very subtle. Very, very subtle. A lot of you who are not musicians might not have recognized the difference between those two. So let me go into a little more focused detail on that. You can only tell the difference between those two during the wheels on the bus part, because round and round was just doing the macro beat, or a larger beat rather, and the wheels on the bus has faster notes in it. So it's the difference between the wheels on the bus that go around and round. There's 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. You can think of the old jazz hi-hat as the wheels on the bus go round and round, a 1 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. Whereas the straight feel is just it's duple. It's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. The wheels on the bus go. And I don't need to do the round around part. The wheels on the bus go. The wheels on the bus go. The wheels on the bus go. As opposed to swing. The wheels on the bus go round and round. The wheels on the bus go. The wheels on the bus go. Now some of you might not even be able to recognize the difference between that. That was very subtle because it's fairly fast. Let's see if I can think of an example that's a little bit slower. Another one is about the same as Five Little Monkeys. We also do a straight version of that, whereas historically I've mostly heard it with a swing feel. Five Little Monkeys goes, 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed. So let me just stick with that one phrase. 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed. That's got a swing to it. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. Notice I'm doing a 1 and 2 and 3 and so it's broken into threes. We straightened it out with a funk groove and we made it 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed. 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed, as opposed to 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. It's very subtle. Most children in our age group for these classes are not going to be able to distinguish that much of a difference, but it's still good for you to be able to do it in the right feel of the song, to do your patterns in the right feel of the song so that they can start to recognize those differences. So let's take a look at a few examples here. Now, this is going into a little bit more detail than you really need to know, but for those musicians out there who have some background with this might help you distinguish what I'm talking about here. You could call, well, here's basically 4 patterns, and I have them written out here in what's called the compound meter of 12/8. We're not going to go into the detail of what compound meter is right now for the purposes of our classes. And then below it is the same pattern notated with a swing feel notation. Okay, so if you notice, the difference between the straight feel and the swing feel was the straight feel was broken down into twos, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, whereas the swing feel was 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a, so it was broken down into threes. But you also notice that we're not necessarily calling this duple or triple meter because it's such a small, we're breaking down the quarter note here, I think. It depends on what tempo you call it. But we're breaking down much smaller beats. In duple and triple meter, you're breaking down the macro beat into 2s and 3s. But now we're breaking down a micro beat into further 2s or 3s. So it gets a lot more subtle. And that's where it feels like a swing feel or a straight feel. Now, I don't want to get too heady about all this for the purposes of this class, but I'm just trying to make sure that I relate to you the differences. So, I'm just going to go through these patterns right now, and these are the ones that are in 12/8 and 4/4 are exactly the same. Let's start with the 12. Actually, it's easier for me to read the 4/4 ones, so I'm going to do that. So repeat after me. Okay, so I'm going to read it straight, the bottom one. Let's take a look at this 4/4 one first, and I'm going to scroll up, make sure you can see it. Okay, so here's the 4/4 one. It's straight feel. This will be bum, 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 bum. Now, if that were in swing feel, it would be bum, 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 bum. Okay, so you hear the difference? Once again, straight feel. Bum, 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 bum. And the swing feel, bum, 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 bum. So you notice that last note right here sounds a lot closer to this note in the swing feel because you're saying that every grouping of 2/8 notes actually should be interpreted as a quarter note and an 1/8 note triplet. So it's got that swing. Let's take a look at our second one here. bum 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 bum. That's straight. Bum 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 bum. Now swing. Bum 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 bum. Let's take a look at the third one. Straight. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Now swung. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. And now our last one. Straight. Bum 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 bum. Again. Bum 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 bum. Now swung. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. So I hope that's helped you to distinguish the differences. You notice that the swing feel, as well as being called bouncy, also has kind of a galloping rhythm to it a little bit, if for lack of a better word. If we were to take 8 eighth notes in a row, let's see, bum 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 bum. Of course, I'm assuming you're repeating after me here. Now in swing, it would be bum ba bum ba bum ba bum 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 ba bum ba bum ba bum bum. Straight bum ba bum 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 ba bum bum. And 2 and 3 and 4 and bum 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 bum. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and with a swing it would be bum ba bum ba bum ba bum ba. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a bum ba bum ba bum ba bum ba. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. So I think that last example I gave might be the most obvious out of all the examples I gave to really show you the difference between a straight feel and a swing feel. So all that means is in class, certain of our songs have a swing feel and certain are straight. So I want you to be able to recognize the difference so that when you go into your rhythm patterns afterwards, you keep the same feel going. It's just a little bit better. All right. Next section is going to be how to use these patterns in class. Stay tuned.